Hello, and welcome to this roundup of my 5 favorite romance novels that I read this month. I'm Olivia, your new favorite resource for book recommendations you can easily screenshot, and you're watching Random Olive Reads. First up is The Outlaw and the Lady by Lorraine Heath, which is book 1 of the Daughters of Fortune series. This is set in 1890s Texas. We have the second generation of characters from the Rogues in Texas series, if you've read that one. Angela is out for a midnight stroll in Fortune, Texas, when she accidentally interrupts a bank robbery. The robbers believe she's seen their faces and can identify them, so they kidnap her, not realizing until they've gotten away that she's blind. Lee Raven is the ringleader of the robberies, seeking revenge on a single man who ruined his family, and he's gained his reputation as a wanted murderer. As Lee and Angela are stuck together, she starts to realize he's not really as cruel as she thought he would be, and it sounds like he has all the admiration of his brothers who ride with him. Now, this was a plot with so much plot going on and so much mystery to unravel that I had to keep reading just to find out if my hunch was correct, and it was delightfully satisfying to know that I read all of those clues correctly throughout. This was angsty and tragic and amazing to see it all tie together. My second favorite of the month is actually just the second book of the same series. To Marry an Heiress by Lorraine Heath is book 2 of the Daughters of Fortune series. We're in England for this story, with Georgina visiting her friend Lauren for the season, and her wealthy father is setting up a match for her with Devon, who is an earl and totally impoverished. Devon needs the cash, so he agrees to Georgina's father's terms for the courtship and trying to play along with the appearance of a love match. Upon meeting Georgina at a ball, she sees through him immediately and insists that he not lie to her if they're going to get married. We see a quick wedding very early on in the book, followed by a surprising tragedy that sets off resentment and animosity between Devon and Georgina through the rest of the book. And it was most interesting to see how Georgina could be sweet and accommodating, but also have a lot of strength in her convictions throughout the book. Devon thought he would be getting himself a demure and grateful wife, but instead finds a strong, courageous partner worth falling in love with. Say Yes to the Princess by Charis Michaels is book 1 of the Hidden Royals series. Elise is an exiled French princess being housed by the royal family and being sort of redirected and managed after asking too many questions about a possible sighting of her lost younger brother. The royal family has hired Killian, the second son of an earl and all around royal fixer, to distract Elise and keep her from being nosy. While Elise and Killian start off at odds, they're instantly attracted to each other and want to know more about the other person's background. Elise has her own issues of loneliness and despair, while Killian has also suffered from ostracism due to his mother's background. It was interesting to find out more about Killian's backstory, especially in meeting his family at the estate where he grew up. And just like Elise, we start to fall in love with Killian in seeing his kindness towards his nephew. With all of the mysteries to unravel, this book will definitely keep the pages turning. Bad Me Duke by Felicity Niven is book 1 of the Bad Me series. The action starts right with chapter 1 with our Countess, in her own right, Helen, asking Jack for lessons in seduction so that she can somehow convince the new Duke to marry her. Although we find out that plain old Duke, a retired ship captain, is actually the new Duke, but he has been in disguise as a commoner as he gets the lay of the land. We rewind to 3 weeks prior when Jack finds out that he has inherited a dukedom after his cousin dies, and we learn a bit more of his backstory and why he is hesitant to trust women. I love the character build-up of Jack, and you can definitely understand why he is the way he is. When he goes to visit his new estate in Scotland, he uses his common name and doesn't let anyone know he's the Duke when he meets Helen, the neighboring Countess. She has had her own share of struggles with an impoverished estate and sees marriage to the new Duke as a solution to her troubles. She's also terribly unsure of herself as a woman and lack of sensual appeal, even though she's a strong and effective leader. Helen is loud and brash and forthright, and somehow all of these things very much appeal to Jack, who is the most appealing and desirable man that Helen has ever seen. We get to see Helen and Jack slowly fall in love, but really can't commit to each other since Helen needs to snare the Duke, and Jack feels guilty for deceiving Helen about his identity. It's a horrible muddle that will keep you reading to find out how it resolves. And lastly, I've switched to a contemporary romance here. Forget Me Not by Julie Soto is the debut novel from one of my very favorite fan fiction authors, known as Love's Bit Cat 8 on Archive of Our Own. This one is a second chance romance between Emma, a wedding planner who doesn't believe in commitment, and Elliot, a florist who took over his father's shop. The present day chapters are told from Emma's perspective, with past timeline chapters told from Elliot's. In the present timeline, Emma has booked a high-profile wedding that could elevate her career, but has to work with Elliot on the florals, even though they haven't talked to each other in 2 years. In the past timeline, we get to see how they meet and get together, and it's absolutely delightful reading Elliot's self-deprecating awkwardness and internal monologue. In both timelines, we get to see Elliot's gruff but caring nature, and that he's a total sap. This book had all the best emotionally written lines, and you can feel Emma's angst in the present day, even though you don't quite understand where it all went wrong. This was definitely one of my favorite books this month. It definitely makes it into the top 10 of the year, even though I've read so many books so far. Thank you so much for watching this video. Links to all of these books are in the description box. Like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos, and you can follow me on Instagram at randomolive.